Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. We'll give it just a moment for people to come in and to get situated before we start. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to our presentation on counselor identity development and emerging counselors. My name is Dr. Ericka Cables. My pronouns are she, her. I am an assistant professor at Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri. I have been licensed in the state of Missouri since 2017. And I am a supervisor in Missouri, and some of the credentials, the ACS, I am an approved supervisor as well. So let's meet. So I would like to know about you all. So if you could put your preferred name in the chat, the institution that you are at, and what year you are in your program. I know we probably have a little mix of people here. Some might be emerging counselors. We probably have some other professionals as well. So let's meet. So put your information in the session, in the chat, if you could. Hi, Stephanie. We have Chicago School in the house. Let's see. University. Oh, Stephanie is from Southern Eastern Louisiana University, and she's an LPC. Enzia is from the Chicago School. And in that first year, we have Latrina, adjunct professor at GCU, Dr. Jennifer Culver from Slippery Rock University, Sarah, another Chicago school, first year PhD, Jill, Casey, fourth term, Devontae, Chicago School, Nancy, Adams State University, Dr. Lorraine Gordon from Concordia University, Kelly from Commonwealth University, LPC, and another third year, Danielle at the Chicago School, and a first year at the Chicago School. So it is great to meet each and every one of you all. We have University of Mississippi represented, Christina, LPC there. So thank you all for introducing yourselves. I come from the framework of relational cultural theory or relational cultural therapy. So I would like to make this presentation interactive. So for our emerging counselors, if there are any questions that you have throughout the presentation, then definitely feel free to ask. I'm a one-screen girl, so I will be pulling up the chat throughout just to make sure that we have everything covered. But there will also be time at the end of the presentation for questions. I do have notes. I'm a note taker. I write things down. So I will be kind of looking to my right or your left, however it's situated, to look at my notes. Okay, so let's kind of jump things off. I'm so excited that you all are here, especially those emerging counselors. Counseling is a difficult field to be in. Mental health in general is a different field, but I am so happy that you all made the commitment. In spite of everything, just made the commitment to be here. So I appreciate you, and I'm pretty sure other colleagues as well who are already in the profession. We just appreciate you all for your commitment. Okay, so with the presentation, a couple of objectives here. So the first is to understand the concept of counselor identity and its components. We're going to jump into identifying some of the challenges that emerging counselors might experience when they transition from that student status to the professional status. And then we'll talk about some strategies on how to navigate those challenges, and maintaining the authenticity in their professional identities. Okay, so the one thing is counseling, going into the counseling profession, our training is rigorous. And I'm pretty sure, I don't care what institution you're at, pretty sure you know and you understand the rigor of um, the information that you're obtaining. It is a life-changing experience, to say the least, is what I can say. And so one of the first things you're doing, you're jumping into your professional training. So you're studying, you're learning those foundational techniques, the theories, the concepts of mental health counseling, theoretical approaches, ethical guidelines, multicultural competency. So all of this information is coming at you probably so fast that it's difficult to kind of take everything in at any given time. The next step is your critical thinking. So you're taking into this information, but then also you're going to be challenged to apply the information critically. You're engaging in the course material. You evaluate the theories, the techniques, the theoretical approaches you're encountering. You start to consider those strengths and the limitations and how those things align or disalign with your personal beliefs, your personal values, a self-awareness, a self-discovery, a lot of awakening is happening when you're going through that critical thinking phase. And then you start to make some sense of the information. So you're starting to organize and synthesize the information that you are engaging in, identifying principles and themes that you're encountering in the counseling interventions that you're exposed to. And then you go on to application and practice. You know, this, I feel like this is probably the area where most counselors are really excited because there's a lot of information you're taking in, and then it's showtime. And so that is when you have to apply and you have to practice the information. Under your supervision, you might conduct mock counseling sessions, some role plays, different things of that nature, further developing your techniques and your clinical skills, rapport building, those interventions and techniques. You also start to conceptualize your client and starting to really put those pieces together of who that individual is as they present to you within those sessions. You also share with your peers and your instructor about your clinical experience, and then also that site supervisor as well. And then after that, you start to reflect. You know, after you get into that clinical experience and working with clients and applying the information, conceptualizing the information, there's this reflection period. You know, counselors love reflection. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of self-awareness, reflection activity that happens within your programs. But after that session is a good time to continue that reflection. So you're thinking about your interactions with the client. You're thinking about, you know, what can I improve? How well did I do? Are there some things that I could have done better? You start to consult, you start to, you know, engage with the feedback from your peers, from your supervisor, from your faculty, and even your clients. You know, that is one of the components, is to obtain that feedback from your clients so they can know and understand, so you can know and understand how they experience you as their counselor. And then you go to continual learning. And so that is when, hey, there's some opportunities to learn more. Guess what? I might need some, oops, I meant to mute that. Let me take care of that really quick, because we do not want this to keep doing that. Okay, so we figured that out. But that continual learning, so that includes your workshops, your continuing education, your consultation. You also start to think about, hey, this might be a specialty that I'm interested in going into. And so that learning does not stop after you finish the program, it continues on. Okay, so what is counselor identity? And counselor identity, so this is from the ACA, our ethics, our code of ethics, which is getting an update. So it's going to be exciting to see what the new codes are going to say. But counselor identity encompasses the beliefs, the values, the attitudes, and the self-perceptions that shape how individuals understand themselves as counselors and engage in their professional roles. And so one of the things to note that with your counselor identity, yes, it talks about the professional role, but then also there's components of your personal identity that are incorporated within that. It encompasses both your personal qualities and professional characteristics that you bring into work with your clients, as well as your ongoing development and growth as practitioners. And so we'll look at this really quick. So this is 2020 vision, and this actually came out in 2011. And this basically really shaped kind of the direction that we want to go in our profession. So the 2020 vision of future counseling initiative, it was a comprehensive project that was undertaken by the ACA to outline the vision and the future of the counseling profession. It launched in 2005, and it was a game changer. It set the stage on how we want the profession to look. How do we want to be presented as counselors in the 21st century? So when this was created, future counselors and forward thinking of the profession was in mind. And the thing I like about it, it wasn't just about making plans, it was a roadmap about where we wanted to go within our profession, within our identity. And so this is just one of the components of that, and there's some sub bullet points to that. But these are some other notes. So there were oversight committee actually created these, and it was in collaboration with many other counseling entities as well. Those professional organizations had input on the components that we needed to focus on. Okay, and so we have some counselor development models. And so kind of like theory, there's always kind of these steps and these stages of development. And so there are many, I'm not going to say many, there are some. There are some models of counseling. And so the ones that we're going to look at two specific ones. And these are stage-wise development models. And these emphasize just the progression of the identity at different stages of your work. And so with the beginning counselor, so this one first was Logan, 1964. And within this one, Logan proposed 4 different stages. So at this first stage, beginning counselors, and when I was going through and creating this presentation, I reflected back on where I was and see if I could see the different stages, if I could pinpoint where I kind of progressed as a counselor. The first stage, you're beginning to find yourself. You lack that confidence, that insight. You're insecure. You're unsure of how to navigate the complexities that might be coming up with your clients, might have some difficulty conceptualizing or understanding certain components that you're receiving in your education. You might lean on your supervisor a lot. So instead of just challenging yourself to make decisions or, to provide your insight, it's more like, hey, supervisor, what do you see? What do you think I should do? And so that's kind of that very first level, just kind of looking for more experienced professionals or counselors, supervisors to guide you. In that second stage, that's when you begin to try to battle this autonomy versus dependency on supervisor. So you might be thinking about potentially taking risk. Hey, I could do this. I understand the client. I might be able to do this. Or should I consult with my supervisor? Should I not? Should I challenge myself to apply because I critically thought this thing out? And so it's kind of like that teeter-totter, that back and forth, whether I should or should I not. Um, Within that second stage, you oscillate. You're trying to assert your dependence, but also having some hesitancy behind asserting that independence. This is a self-discovery stage. It is an exploration stage, and it is here to help you to get a clearer sense of your identity and your strengths and areas of opportunity as well. In that third stage, you start to demonstrate greater confidence in your ability. You feel more assured about your role. You rely less on that external validation, whereas your first two stages, you're going to need validation to say, no, you're doing great. You're doing an awesome job. That third stage, yes, that validation is helpful, but you're not completely relying on that validation. You are more confident and comfortable in your level of skill. You're comfortable with taking those challenges and understanding the insights and being able to apply what you have learned in your education, but what you've learned about your client also. And that final stage is master counselor. So you demonstrate and you exhibit a high degree of autonomy and assurance in your work. So you're secure, you're more secure. You possess a deep understanding of theory and practice. You're able to translate things practically. I would say even at the master level, there's still a component of consultation, but you are more comfortable in consulting and you're more comfortable at taking risks with your clients before, hey, you know what, I have to engage in consultation or there's additional training that I need to be able to help this client. But you're up for the challenge. This next is also stage wise. So this is Loganville, 1982. And these stages are somewhat similar to the previous model that we looked at. So our first stage is this stagnation. So we talked about that, just kind of that lack of awareness, that simplistic linear thinking. And within that, not necessarily connecting the dots of what's happening with your clients and really kind of playing it safe in a sense. Kind of just not really going deeper into what some of the challenges that client might be experiencing. You're still trying to figure it out. And so within this, struggles beyond going below the surface. And this stage is characterized by the counselor feeling stuck and really not knowing where to go with their clients. When you go into the next stage is confusion. And counselors experience this period of fluctuation between competent and incompetent in that role. And so that is where imposter syndrome comes in. You're kind of insecure about who you are as a counselor, where you kind of fit in. Like the other model that we looked at, you oscillate between, security, doubting yourself, clarity, uncertainty, and ambivalence. And this stage is also marked by a heightened awareness of the complexities that come along with counseling practice. And then that final stage, you have your integration. And that is achieving this greater self-awareness, accepting yourself, who you are, stabilizing in your counselor identity. You have an understanding of your strengths, your limitations, your values, and learning how to integrate those aspects within the counseling profession. And so one of the things I will say, like as I went through this model, like I said, I was kind of reflecting on my experiences going through my program, my education. And I just remember very distinctively having the challenge with who I was as a counselor. I remember I graduated, but I took 2 years out. I was in a different work setting that wasn't mental health related. Layoff started. And so I was like, okay, I got this degree in counseling. I really want to be a counselor, start seeking supervision and start to go move forward with, the next professional stage of your life. And so I remember going into seeking supervision, just being very transparent about what I didn't know. I was not confident in my clinical skills. I was not confident in my understanding or application of theory. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what specific specialty. I was, a ball of confusion, like I said. Now, probably not even a ball of confusion. I don't even know what to call it, but I just didn't know. And so when I went into that supervision, this is, a thing why supervision is mandatory in all states. I will confidently say that. But where supervision definitely comes in, that supervision experience that I had actually helped me to understand who I was as a counselor. I remember going into sessions and just being really confused, not necessarily confused on what to do with the client. I didn't know how to present with the client. So I remembered everything I read in the book, in the textbook, but I'm like, how do I apply that to a real person? Yes, our books give us examples of how to do those things, but when you go out and you actually see a real person and you're applying the things that are in the book, guess what? Sometimes they don't fit. And so that was my confusion. I didn't know how to present with my clients. And it wasn't until I did some observation of my supervisor and I saw as a Black woman how she presented with her client and how sometimes that didn't necessarily look like the textbook said, but guess what? She was effective in that. And so once I saw that, I was like, okay, I know who I am. I know how I want to present with my clients. I know how to be authentic with my clients. And so guess what? After I had that session, after I observed how she presented, I think that is where things took off for me as far as my identity and just being secure in how I presented with my clients. So I will definitely say, like, yes, we have these models. And even with these models, these stage wise, it indicates linear models to where you have to go to this model, then you have to go to this stage, and then you go to the next stage. But guess what? At any given point, your client, your population might change. And so guess what? Then you go back to, hey, I don't know this client population. I don't know what to do with this population. So guess what? We go back to linear thinking. Maybe I'm not going deep with the client. Maybe I'm just playing it safe. Maybe I'm starting to fluctuate with my competency level, or maybe I'm feeling insecure. And so just knowing that there is a whole process that you are going to go through continually as a counselor. And I'm going to try to look at that. You are very welcome. Okay. So let's go on. So let's talk about the transition. Okay. So I've got a Mentimeter. Okay. This is my first time using the Mentimeter, but I think I have everything situated. Okay. I believe, yes. Oops. Yes. Okay. Great. So we got the Mentimeter. So if you want to scan the QR code, you can definitely do so. Oops, sorry. Sorry. Give me just 1 second because I just noticed that that was paused. Okay, here we go. Okay. I should know technology better. I was a pandemic person, but things happen. Hold on a second. Okay, so we have our Mentimeter. And so you can scan this QR code here, or you can join with menti.com and using the code 59789925. If someone can help me out, and if they could actually put that information in the chat, that would be awesome. And I know some, technology, some people don't not necessarily like to do the QR code or things like that. So you can actually just put these things in the chat also. So you're going to join the Menti with the QR code or just kind of put that information in. And you're going to talk about or give a word or phrase about what some professional identity challenges you foresee in your transition from student to professional. What are some of the challenges that you see with that transition? Fumbler, yes. Problem solver, love it. Yeah, grave mistakes, cultural, not being efficacious. I'm sorry, efficacious. Confidence, empowering, not telling, mistakes, imposter syndrome, flexibility, not being okay with mistakes. Let's see, microaggressions, application of knowledge, how to ask for feedback, wisdom. Yes. Empowering, not telling. I love that. Self-disclosing. Yes, let's see. There's a couple on the kind of cultural, the fumbler. Let's see, specialty. Yes, specialty is always kind of that challenge. Negotiation, financials, which, you got to get paid. A lot of times people go through school and they don't get any compensation. So, yes. Or even, I'm thinking compensation as a counselor, but even still, like talking about finances with your clients too. That's also a thing. So, yeah, so we see that there is like a plethora of challenges that come along with our professional identity, and just kind of, being insecure on some of those things. Self-doubt, insecurity, about how to navigate the supervised learning environment to independent practice. So the one thing is, and I always tell students, when you are in class, when you have your group supervision, you have your individual supervision, that is free. So ask away, encounter the challenges, be transparent, because those things, you're going to have a whole lot of eyes on you. By the time you start to transition from student to professional, yes, you're still going to have a clinical supervisor, but depending upon the setting you're working in, you might not necessarily have that group supervision where you can see and hear multiple perspectives. You no longer have your faculty advisor. You have your site supervisor. And so, one of the things to keep in mind is while you're in school, while you have all of those eyes on you, utilize them. Don't be frightened, don't be terrorized by that, but you utilize that. That is a great place to be vulnerable, and to learn so that you can get more comfortable in growing in that identity. Feedback is also a really important thing. Sometimes we don't like that feedback, sometimes it doesn't necessarily necessarily feel good, whether it's constructive or not. Sometimes it just not does not feel good. And so just learning how to accept that feedback and applying it and just knowing that, you know what, this is going to help to better myself in the long run. It might not necessarily feel good, but just take on that reflective process and figuring out, you know, how I can improve. Because ultimately you're going out to help people. And there's so many different personalities and so many different things we deal with. And so the feedback is just there to help us to grow and to develop. Let me see if there's anything else I've got written here. One of the other things is ethics. And so I know each of you is going to have an ethics course or have had the ethics course. There are so many ethical things that I can guarantee you have all have not discussed in your courses or even in clinical supervision. And so that is one of those other challenges is that, okay, where does ethics go in? There, even though, yes, we are counselors and there are unethical things that happen all the time within the profession. And so just knowing how to navigate those things, that's also a challenge. Like, is this ethical or not? And that's why you have your ACA, which is a great thing, your ACA membership, because that membership is going to allow you to be able to consult with an experienced professional, present your ethical concern to them, and they're going to give you some insight and feedback on how to navigate that. But you also have your site supervisor. So just remember that as well. And so let's move on to another mentee. If I can figure out how to go on. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, I've got another mentee leader. One day I will get 2 screens that will make life easier, but that day is not now. So we'll go with it. So this is our other mentee. And there's no QR code on this one. I'm sorry, y'all. But you all can put that in the chat too. Actually, let me look at this chat really quick to see. You are very welcome, Dr. Culver. Okay, thank you so much, Yancy. Okay, so here's the next mentee. And so that next mentee is we're looking at the rewards. So we talk about, you know, some of the challenges with that transition, the fear, you know, the discomfort within that. But guess what? It's rewarding too. And so just kind of think about some of those rewards that are going to accompany the transition. Resilience develop, yes, for sure, because the program is going to definitely teach you how to develop that sense of resilience, that confidence. Income, yes, you have arrived. Now you can get a check. We will take it for sure. Ability to step outside your comfort zone and build advanced skills. Yes. So all of this work it is amounted to something. And now you can actually, you know, challenge and stretch yourself and build those skills further. You have that freedom, you're mature, that autonomy. So yeah, and I think that is, you know, a great thing is that autonomy nature, because sometimes, like I said, as far as like the textbook, there are certain things within that textbook, you're like, but that doesn't necessarily align with me, or it doesn't align with my population who I want to serve, and how can I be autonomous if I feel restricted in a sense. And so now you have that full freedom to be autonomous and to step into your identity. Fulfillment, yes. Freedom, flexibility, accomplishment, certainly so. One of the other things too is just changing that official title. You're no longer a student, you are a counselor. Of course, there are kind of state rules and different things before you can name yourself a counselor, but you're no longer a student. So just kind of like that transition from being in the classroom to being in the field is a huge and rewarding transition. Becoming a professional counselor or provisional counselor, you have the opportunity to make a positive difference. You were already making that positive difference in your practicum and internship experiences, but it increases. There is a change that happens once you are at a different level in your professional training. You have opportunities for significant personal growth and development. You gain confidence in your abilities. You deepen that self-awareness. You refine that professional identity as you navigate the challenges and the responsibilities that come along with that new role. And so, yes, it is scary, but guess what? Being up for that challenge and just saying like, hey, yes, it's scary, but I did it. Now let's kind of get some of these rewards. You have the opportunity to start to redefine or to define your theoretical orientation. So if there's a theory that you didn't necessarily connect with that aligns with your client population and your personality, then guess what? You have the opportunity to kind of challenge yourself to try a new theory, try something different. Talked about before, that ongoing professional development and learning. You even have the opportunity to engage in some of the things that you didn't necessarily obtain in your education. So there are many rewards to that transition. Okay, I've got to switch my presentation. Okay, we're gonna go back here. Okay, so let's talk about some of the strategies that are going to be able to help you with your transition. And so I'll mention these, and I know I do have colleagues that are licensed in the field. You all can definitely chime in on these things too, because this is a supportive environment. Like, we are training new counselors, and we've been there. We've been in that place where they are. So definitely feel free to provide insight in the chat, or after I give this list, you can also talk about any strategies that I have not covered. So one of the things is taking time to self-reflect and to increase that self-awareness. So we talk about reflection throughout all of counseling programs. We talk about that self-reflection and awareness. That is going to be a continual process that's going to help you in the long run. Understand what matters. So understanding your values, your beliefs, your strengths, where there are growth opportunities. Think about how your own experiences have impacted you, and who you might, how those experiences might affect the people that you work with. It's all about being real with yourself and recognizing how your background and your personal journey has shaped your understanding and how you work with people. You want to establish those boundaries. Now, one of the things is, once you get to that transition from student to professional, people are going to say, well, you're a counselor. Hey, you're a counselor. Can you help me with this? Hey, I need to make an appointment. And so we want to establish those professional boundaries. First of all, we can't counsel people that we befriend or family because it is against our code of ethics. But even still, learning how to like take off the counselor hat and just knowing that, hey, I'm still a person too. And no, I don't want to help to solve all these issues in your life that you're having right now. I'm off the clock in a nice way. So it's establishing those boundaries with the people around you, because people are going to be looking for you to give them advice, even though counselors don't give advice, but they're going to be looking for you to help to guide them in some of the challenges they might have. Also, We're going to look at establishing those boundaries when it comes to your clients. Yes, we want relationship, rapport. Those are important things, but we also have to know we got to establish those boundaries with those clients. If there are any challenges with boundary setting that your site supervisor or your faculty member has told you about, that, hey, you need to work on doing this. Hey, work on ending those sessions on time. Hey, you have to have a conversation about the client about being late. Start to address those things now, because guess what? Going into practice, I can say it for myself, they are going to show up and there's going to be consistent issues. So you work on establishing those boundaries with your clients, but then also those emotional boundaries, learning how not to take that stuff home with you at night after you were finished seeing those clients. Just knowing and being okay with, hey, I did the best that I could for my client. And then we're going to put that down and we're going to move on to the next thing. Cultural competence and humility, continuously educating yourself on diverse cultures, backgrounds, identities, the importance of respecting different values and beliefs, worldviews, even if they don't align with yours. That is okay. Like, there are clients who have different backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, but it does not mean that I can't understand that client, I can't relate to them, and I can't help them. So we have to continuously be educating ourselves through our learning, through next point, supervision, consultation. You're going to have a supervisor, until you can become independently licensed. But guess what? Nobody said that you can't continue supervision, and you have that consultation so you can continuously build that network, professional network of individuals who are going to help you through that process. There are still people, not even just counselors, but social workers that I consult with. If I have a client or a situation that I've encountered, ethical situation, guess what? I'm going back to my ethical decision-making model. I'm going to consult. Hey, I'm going to take different colleagues and different perspectives on how to work with that client more effectively. And so that is a process. While you're a counselor, it's going to be a consistent process. Honesty and transparency. So just like I'm transparent about my one screen and me fumbling around with the technology, people, your clients are going to connect with you about your transparency, or if you're just being your authentic self with them. And sometimes, like, when we go through that counselor identity development and we're still fumbling and not really knowing, it's okay. Like, the client is going to understand that. And I believe it humanizes us, because sometimes the client will come into your session, and if you kind of present to where, okay, I'm the expert and I have to know all these things and I have to know the client and everything they're telling me, I have to understand that. Sometimes that takes the human aspect of us away, because that client, some clients don't understand or know that we experience anxiety, we just experience relational issues, we experience some of the same stuff that they're experiencing. And as they are taking notes on the things and the strategies we're giving them, we're taking notes too, because guess what? Those are notes to self that we need to work on. And so just being honest and transparent, being a human to your clients, keeping it real with your clients, it is an important aspect of who you are. One of the things that I do with the clients that I have, when I introduce myself, I let them know, hey, if I'm doing something wrong within this session, let me know. Might it hurt? Yeah, it might hurt me, depending upon how that information is relayed. But guess what? I want to be honest. I want to be transparent. I want to be honest in that you might feel like I'm not the therapist for you, and it is okay. I will help you find a therapist who is for you. And so just kind of humanizing ourselves is going to help that relationship with that client. And then I'll go to these last 2 points, so flexibility and adaptability. So one of the things is, like, if you all have not understood or known it yet, you have to be flexible and you have to be able to adapt to a changing environment in counseling. You have to do that. And so it is okay. Yes, we just go with the flow. There are things going to happen in that session that you're going to be like, oh, I don't know what to do. I was not expecting that. They didn't tell me on that intake. But guess what? We just go with the flow, being flexible and adaptive. And one of the most important things is self-care. We got to learn how to take care of ourselves. All of these things are a part of our self-care, honestly, when you look at them. Establishing those boundaries, having that cultural competency, seeking supervision and support and consultation. There are ways in which to do that. You don't have to be so consumed on your career as a counselor. Like, you have to have a life outside of the profession. So if it is hanging out with your friends, if it's watching movies, if it's doing the things that you potentially had to put on pause while you're going through the program, pick those things up, pick up a hobby, because that is going to keep you in this profession if you can take care of yourself. If you can't, then guess what? 10 years down the line, you might not be in the profession anymore because you've burnt out. So making sure to implement and hold yourself accountable for that self-care, your self-care practices. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna close that down. Okay, so we've got our question and answer period. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a moment. Okay. And so let me see what we got in the chat. Okay, and we've got 5 minutes remaining. So Yancy said including exercise, good eating habits, and doing annual medical checkups. That is very important for sure. Exercising and eating, because I know through the program, when you're under a lot of stress, well, maybe I'll speak to for myself. Under a lot of stress, you got a lot of things going. I'm not eating well. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not exercising. I'm not taking care of myself. So definitely make sure you include those challenges. Let's see. One of the questions was seeking out counseling practices with diverse clients directly after getting your degree or a few years of experience. Let me read this to myself real quick. I think one of the things, so the question was about diverse populations and working with those diverse populations. I think one of the things is, like, when I graduated in 2013, there were certain things that we were told not to do as counselors. We were told, like, if you had a client who was experiencing trauma, don't work with that client, you refer them out. And so one of the things to keep in mind is, like, working with diverse practices or counseling practices with diverse populations. Yes, so a lot of the things that we learn in school or that we teach in school, we challenge you all to integrate those diversity aspects, how to modify your theory to work with those diverse clients. And so one of the things to keep in mind is you're going to continuously engage. So you go through your consultation, you go through your training. It's okay to start to get those experiences right after you graduate. But I would even say, like, when you go through your supervision, definitely look for those experiences so that you can be more comfortable with working with those populations. Okay, and then Dr. Culver no, we're out of time. So I thank you all. I appreciate you for attending. Um, Colleagues, soon to be colleagues, definitely so. My information, I will send that to somebody so that if you all need to ask me questions or anything, then you can definitely do so. Thank you so much for your time and thank you all for attending. And make sure if you all want those continuing education, it's free. Renewal time will be approaching. It's faster than you know it. So make sure to obtain that information to get your CEUs. Thank you all so much for your time.